Welcome back, Alchemists. This is the 52 Weeks to Wealth, Wealth Principle 49. Seek to understand, then to be understood. If you've been with us on this journey, then you know we're here to double our income and double our net worth. Hands to the camera if that's true for you as well. You want to keep stacking up cash. Now, many people have judged us for being so focused on money. Hands to the camera if you know a lot of the world is like, oh, money's evil. Who's heard that before from other people? Money is evil. Yes, you shouldn't want money. You shouldn't work so hard for money. I've been told that I work very hard, but that's because people don't actually know how my day actually looks. Hence, I can't understand. I don't actually work hard for money. I work hard to change people's lives. And there's a different scenario. The part that makes us the money is actually pretty easy. That part's very passive and it continues to roll out. And as a nation, we're working towards automating the millionaire building process. Hence, it's okay if we automated building millionaires. Wouldn't that be cool? That is one of our major, it's our main focus, to build 100 millionaires who are inspired to build 100 millionaires is just the beginning. If you want to become wealthy, the easiest way to become wealthy is to help others get there too. It's really hard to become rich if you serve people who don't have money. Hence, if you've ever met somebody who didn't have money and tried to sell them something, you didn't get anything money related out of that transaction. But if you serve people who are seeking money and money is flowing to them and you kind of help money get into the way, that's where arbitrage is made. That's where you're able to make a little bit off of the top of everything somebody else does. Who here knows that's how employers make their money, right? They send you out there to go and do some work and they make a little bit off the top of everything that you do. Hence, care if that's okay if you don't have money, right? You need money at some point. And Dorina, Ron, can we make sure that the mics are muted on anybody who's coming in right now or not familiar with how this process goes? If you are new to Alchemist Nation, you can go to AlchemistNation.com for free and gain access to over 65 courses. These are courses that were built by millionaires. Who here would like to learn from a millionaire instead of somebody who's broke just coming up with shit? I agree. In fact, that is part of the millionaire process. Everybody that we put on our platforms to teach and train has to have built $1 million. And furthermore, they must hold on to it because there's a lot of millionaires out there who just did it once and then lost it. Hence, Karen, if you know, that's not a strategy you want to learn. Exactly. We want to learn from people who not only make the money, but get to keep the money. Don't take advice from a fat person on how to lose weight. True or true? It doesn't make sense, right? You take advice from somebody who's in shape and ask them how they got to that shape. Well, it's the same thing with money. You look for people who have money, and then you ask them, how did you get the money that you have? And if you want to have passive income, hands if you want passive income, well, then you look for people who have assets, passive income assets like real estate, dividends, companies, businesses, things that are paying them in their sleep. Who here knows the secret to massive wealth is income in their sleep? You must be earning while you're not taking action. Excellent. The majority of the population was trained on something called work. And if maybe you work long enough, you might be able to retire. There's this 65-year plan in society. And I think my dad's starting to believe it's a 72-year-old plan because Social Security's running thin, inflation is getting high, and for whatever reason, they never went back and they increased the amount of income you're making as inflation continues to eat away at your dollars. Who here knows inflation is like 7% right now, or at least that's what they're reporting. It feels like it's a little bit more. If you go and look at the prices of real estate, if you look at the prices of milk at the store, the eggs, I bought a dozen eggs the other day. I think it was like $4, which whatever, no big deal. But it's still an extreme amount compared to what it used to be. Hence, if you've seen it in gas, you've seen it in other commodities, other things that are out there. Absolutely. So how do we do this? How do we build wealth? We focus on one principle per week. And on this journey, it starts with Wealth Principle 1, which is think $1 million. Wealth Principle 2, choose a business that can make $1 million. Who knows most people don't even consider how much their business can make. And not in this community, but outside of this community, they don't even consider how much they could ever make from their business. They sign up for a job that pays 60, 70, 80,000 a year. And they're like, this is great. I've made it. Well, what happens next year? And next year, you're going to go for those 2% increases when inflation is going up 7, 8%. You're losing money every single year that you lock in your income. So this wealth principle was designed for negotiations. If you've been traveling with us and you understand that part of money is communication with other people. Who here has recognized that all the money you want is in the hands of other people right now? Right? You can't make your own. Don't worry. The government covered you though. They created another $3 trillion. They doubled the money supply in over the period of COVID. So if you were concerned about money, because I think what happened was everybody was saying, I need to make more money, need to make more money. And the government was like, here's a button. They pushed the button and now there's more money in the system. Now, what's interesting is they didn't actually make it this money. What they did was they sent you a check.
Jennifer,
and it was
set it up.
Digital money.
Set it up, Jennifer.
Remove this person here. Excellent. Thank you. So digital money, who's heard of cryptocurrency? Heard of crypto? And they're like, okay, the government wants to, take over crypto. The government has been producing crypto for years and years and years in your accounts, in your bank accounts. Who here goes to the bank and you try to pull out money? Has anybody tried to pull out more than $10,000, $20,000? You can't get your money out because they don't actually have physical money at the bank. Let that sit with you for a moment. They don't actually have physical money at the bank. What they have is digital currency that they slide into your account, slide into the next account. Who is okay with that system, right? You've been using it, right? Didn't even know about it. Didn't even consider the fact that things weren't printed out. Seek to understand, then to be understood is a principle about getting the money from who actually has it. Who here actually does know people have money in their bank accounts that they can withdraw if you decide to, well, it'd be via check, it'd be via check now because most people are, or a deposit, or the acquisition of a piece of real estate. In fact, another form of money sitting in an asset is equity. Who here is familiar with the word equity? Equity. So equity is, and I see some people who are asking, why can't I go on the camera? So for everybody who's out in the attendees area, just so you know, I don't know you yet. And so everybody who's on camera in here is someone who's either paid me for one of my courses, which by the way, not selling anything, but this is a community that has been with us for a long period of time. They've paid us $5,000, $10,000, $97. We've got people who've paid $25,000, $50,000. So, you wonder why they're on the camera. It's because they are important. So let's give everybody on camera right now a big round of applause. You're in one of our deeper programs, and that is, it means you've made a big commitment to yourself. Handscan, if we've over-delivered on our programs, if we've given you more than you paid for at every level of the game, excellent. Give yourselves a round of applause. That makes you a smart investor. So again, we're not selling anything because I don't believe courses make people successful. What we have in the past is built networks and opportunities for people. That's where all the money is. So as we're going through this process of Wealth Principle 49, I want you to just keep in mind that if you are not rich to this point, it's because you haven't had the right conversations with the right people. And you may want to just write that down. If you have not gotten to the extent of happiness or wealth that you'd like, you have not made enough of the right conversations with the right people. In this principle, I'm going to show you how to communicate with people. Now, your choice is whether you're going to change the broke people around you and shift over to dealing and serving and working with higher net worth individuals. That was a principle we talked about previously in the year. If you haven't gone through that principle, go back and review the 52 wealth principles. So let's dive into Wealth Principle 49. Let me know if you can see my screen. I'll pull off my website. Wealth Principle 49, is that on the screen right now? Yes. Excellent. Wealth Principle 49 is seek to understand, then to be understood. This was first popularized by Stephen Covey. He wrote the books 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Handscan, if you've read that book. It is one of the 52 books in our process, but don't worry, it isn't until another 3 weeks. It is the last book of the year. There are 4 failures of communication, 4 common failures. This is where most people make their mistakes every single day in conversation. Hands to the camera if you know you are one of those people, even without reviewing these failures in communication. If you have ever walked away from a situation without money, is a good chance you'd made one of these mistakes. If you've ever had a conversation with somebody and you felt frustrated, they felt frustrated at the end of the conversation, is a good chance that you made one of these common communication failures. Who is committed to learning how to communicate properly and changing your life and changing your finances today? We'll do it today. Excellent. Failure number 1, evaluating a person or situation before listening. When you're evaluating, you are judging, and then you're either agreeing or disagreeing. This is a win or lose scenario. We do not evaluate conversations. Going forward, I want you to shift. When you're looking into a conversation, I want you to be more curious. And I'll talk about why that's so important in a little bit. But for the beginning of this, I want you to understand, if you are losing in conversations, it's because you have a win-lose scenario getting into it. Hence, Cam, if you've ever done that before, you went into a conversation and you're like, well, we'll see if this works the way I want it to go. And it didn't, and you just ended the conversation or said something silly. Number two, probing. Probing is another failure in communication. You ask questions from your own frame of reference without understanding where you're going. You're just looking to see, is this person important to me? Are they going to agree with me or not? And then you just fail the conversation by pointing and saying in your direction what you want or how you believe their situation or understanding is. Hence, if you understand, we will not probe going forward. We will stop probing. The next one is advising. And if you've ever been in a committed relationship, especially men, you know exactly what this looks like, or I guess the woman would know what this looks like. You give counsel, advice, and solutions to problems. Who here has said in the past, you are a problem solver? Who said this? This is entrepreneurial. We do this all the time. Oh, I'm a problem solver. I'm a problem solver. Don't be a problem solver too soon. The challenge with these failures is this is the first form of communication. If you're using these as the first form of communication, you are going to fail the conversation and not just fail yourself and what you could get out of it, but fail the person in front of you. Number four, interpreting. So when you are communicating with a person, if you're analyzing the other's motives and behaviors based on your own internal experiences, the only result you could ever get is a failure to communicate. Because it's absolutely impossible to understand the other person when you're focused on just what you have already in your head. And if you understand why these are failures, they're very obvious. Each one of them is like, oh yeah, I do that. How about changing the communication strategy? Who would like to change and communicate to understand instead of just pounding into people and saying, well, it didn't work out, no worries. That rich person doesn't like me. Oh, that rich person has a thing against working with people who have no experience. Let's shift into the first one, intent. So the intent for understanding is to listen for understanding. So how do we do that? We let the other person talk without our monkey brain running. Who here's had a conversation but already knew what you were going to say? Has anybody like heard somebody talking and you were already planned out what you were going to say? Shut it down, right? When you're going into the conversation, start with a blank mind. You have to have the intent to understand. That must be your mental decision going into a conversation with a human being, is to understand where they're coming from. That doesn't mean you're giving up on your beliefs or giving up on what you want to create or your desires. What you're doing first is acknowledging the value of the next human being in front of you. Who understands that other people are valuable, they're important. True or true? Excellent. So first intent in a conversation is a 4-step process. First intent in a conversation is listen to understand. That intention has a skill set that goes with it. Understanding has a skill set that goes with it, which is reflect feelings in words. Now, when I say reflect feelings in words, what I'm talking about is be a mirror. Who's heard of mirroring? If you've ever studied NLP or psychology with other people, you want it to be genuine and real. So one of the best ways to reflect and mirror is use their own words back to them. If somebody says, I feel like the price isn't right, you might want to reflect back and say, I can understand how you might feel that the price isn't right, isn't right what you're looking to get. We understand that was reflecting. That was a reflection of what they were saying. Too many people want to skip ahead and disagree or probe or evaluate. But when you just listen and say, I agree that you feel this way. I can see how you would feel that the price isn't correct where you would like it to be. Reflecting with their words is valuable. Another form of mirroring would be slowing your voice down if they're speaking slowly, or speeding your voice up if they're speaking intensely. If they're really intense, you may also have to become intense. Who here finds themselves to be more of a laid back, relaxed person, doesn't really want to get intense in situations? This may be work for you, right? This may be a challenge. This could be what's stopping you from being successful. When a person is frustrated and intense and they're operating like this, and you're sitting back like this, being like, you're upset for no reason, you're frustrated for no reason, we can understand the gap would widen. True or true, right? It just becomes harder to pay attention to that person. It feels like they're not taking us seriously. And at the same time, if a person is relaxed and they're telling you, well, I'm not sure if I want to sell my house right now. I got, my kids and I got my family and I got some things that I've been thinking about that I'm not too certain whether this scenario would be good for me or good for them. Who here has ever just gone in and been like, well, but you sell it to me, you're going to save this much money, we're going to move you out of this and we're going to shift you over here and it's going to totally work. To them, they're feeling you're not listening also. They're feeling that you just have an agenda, that you just want to go and get their property from them, or that you want their money from them. Hence, if you've ever made one of these fatal flaws or felt somebody else do it with you. They weren't vibing. So reflect feelings and words. This is skill number one for intention number one, understanding. Who would like to be understood? Who would like somebody else to do what they want them to do? Right, so part of this principle, Wealth 49, is I'm not going to call it manipulation. Persuasion might be a little closer, but the idea is a little bit of both, right? It is move them towards an ideal that you both agree on. So when I teach these like more psychology things, these sales components, I want to emphasize we do all of our deals morally, ethically, legally. True or true? Everything we do must be in the benefit of the people in front of us. So if you are persuading and manipulating a person, you must do so morally, ethically, and legally. Now, manipulation is bad and persuasion is good. I had a hard time understanding what the difference of that was. And the only way to know that you're not manipulating, to know for sure that you are persuading, is to first understand their scenario. Who here knows it's a fine line? If I teach you tactics that could move a person forward, it's very important that you understand that fine line and follow the rules so that you don't end up hurting somebody in their life at any level. So the other skill set is being understood. This is when people want to do the things that you are suggesting. So who would like to learn some influence today? Wealth Principle 49 is all about influence. It is all about getting other people to do what you want. Hence, Karen, if you're down to learn some influence. And if you're afraid of influence, log off, right? This is going to get a little dangerous. Number one, the intention must be to be understood. That must be the intention, which is a patient attention. It is not an aggressive attention. It is a clear, calm, patient, accepting, faithful attention. The idea is that you know for certain at the end of this conversation, you will be understood because you were already willing to understand. The skill set behind it is to state your point of view using I messages. I feel, I want, I desire, I am. Those statements allow a person to recognize where you stand, especially after being understood. When you've taken the time to listen to another human, they're willing to listen to you. Hence, if you understand, it's called the law of reciprocity. If you want to be understood, you must first understand their scenario, clearly communicate that you understand the scenario, and then it becomes very easy. In fact, many times they'll ask you, well, what do you want? What are you looking for? Who's seen that happen to them before? You just suddenly the tables turn. They're like, well, what are you getting out of this? What are you looking for? How can I help you? How can I get more? And that is where it's very important to be able to clearly state your goal in a manner that is enticing to them as well, right? So look for their goals, look for what they're seeking. Who's heard of the value equation before? Has anybody heard of the value equation? It was popularized by Alex Hormozi in the book, $100 Million Offers. And in that book, he talks about 4 components to a value. The first being that desire that they want, that big thing that they want to have. Who here knows your desire? Does anybody know what their desiring is right now? You can drop it in the chat. What is your big goal for 2023? What do you want to accomplish for yourself in 2023? Drop that in the chat. And if you're afraid to share your goals with other people, then there's a good chance that your goals are not coming to you because you don't even believe them enough to share them with others, or you feel bad about them or feel guilty about them. We want to eliminate all those feelings of negativity around your goals in order to accomplish your goals. So drop your goal in the chat, whatever you want to accomplish. Many people want passive income. Many people want $10,000 passive income, legacy wealth, or they want net worth. They want to have a fortress of financial freedom around themselves, never have to work again. Many people, their goal is to just quit their job. And then as you get past the financial burdens, you get past some of this money stuff, you start thinking about impact and significance and helping others and changing the planet and changing the world and helping people, have clean water. There's things that you start doing beyond the money challenge. Who here is still a little bit focused on money and will definitely save the world once you got yours? Anybody on here? You're going to do some big impact? Absolutely. It's kind of like you got to put the mask on in the airplane. If those little things ever drop, you got to put it on your face before you can go and help other people put it on their faces, right? Because that 2-year-old kid on the side, he was probably not going to figure this thing out. There's, what's going to happen is you're both going to die if you don't take care of yourself first. Who here has made a commitment to improve their lives so they can improve others' lives? Excellent. That is what the mission of 100 Millionaires is. Once you get yours, just dedicate some time to go and teach others and share how you got your wealth with the community around you, the people who are willing to listen. Now, not everybody's willing to listen. I know this for certain because I spend some time on TikTok. I put out a lot of trainings on how to build wealth, and I've noticed that the world is mostly full of haters. There's a lot of people, a lot of trolls out there who are just like, oh, no, this guy's lying. It's impossible to get rich. And there's really not much you can do with somebody who's got blinders on, right? It's like they don't see the financial freedom. It's like they don't see the trips and the traveling and the fact that I haven't had to work in years and years and years. They see what they want to see. They see that you must be faking your positivity. Oh, there's no way somebody's that positive all the time. They must be faking it. They see that you're putting all this work into your business, and they're like, well, their business must not be successful. That's why they're putting so much work in. The business must suck. That's why they're working so hard. Hands to camera, if you know your friends, when they see you grinding, they're like, oh my God, if they're grinding that hard, it must not be working. Right? There's no what, like the ideal job for the average person is to not have to work as little as possible. If they can get in there and the boss never checks up on them and they don't have to do any work, like that's winning for them. Well, for us as entrepreneurs, we know we got to put in some serious hard work in the beginning to build our assets so that at the end we don't have to do anything because the assets are built. Part of the wealth principles is teaching you 1 step per week. In fact, every week we do a exercise, don't we? And that exercise we apply into the business of our choosing, whatever we're working on right now. And that is how we double our net worth. It's how we double our income. So hands to camera, if you are ready to do an exercise for understanding. Excellent. So pull out a pen and paper. And the easiest way to do this exercise is to choose a person who actually has some value in your life. It could be your spouse, a great person to practice on, your children, or a business partner, or it could be a client. The higher net worth the client, the better the return on investment will be. Here's what I'll tell you. It's impossible to fail this exercise because up to this point, you have already failed at some level. This exercise is foolproof. So first, I want you to write down the name of the person. Everybody's got a person in their head right now. Hands to camera. If you got a person in your head that you imagined, write down the name of the person on your piece of paper. Step 1 is you're going to contact them and get them on the phone. Step 1 is either you're going to get them in person or on the phone. You're going to get, belly to belly or ear to ear or Zoom to Zoom and have a conversation with them. And the first thing you're going to ask in that conversation is, what is your goal for this year? What would you like to accomplish for this year? For some of you may shorten the goal. What do you want to accomplish tonight? What do you want to accomplish this weekend? What would you like to accomplish this week? And again, if you understand, the instructions are just to understand. It is just a practice. It's just an exercise. So the next step is you're going to repeat back whatever they say in a cool manner. I don't want you to repeat back like a parrot. That's fucking annoying. People don't like it when it's obviously you just mirroring them. Hands can if you understand, you got to be smooth about it, right? A little charismatic about it. You can change some of the words. Don't change all the words. Use a key word that was important to them. Like if I'm talking to Dorina and Dorina says, I want sushi tonight. And I say, sushi, is that what you're looking for tonight? That is reflecting and at the same time, not sounding like a parrot. We're catching this? So step 1, we're going to show the intention of understanding this. Like we're going to ask a question that allows us to get some data, some information about what the next year looks like or what the next month looks like, or in the case of me and Dorina, our date tonight, what that might look like. And then the next step is to persuade. It is to be understood. It is then to have the intention of saying, well, if we go to sushi, I was also thinking I would like to go for, I'd like to hit the gym. I didn't get to hit the gym this morning, so I'd like to hit the gym before going out tonight. Hence, Karen, if it's okay if that's my intention. I decided my intention, and now I'm able to communicate it to her. She now has the decision. Does she want to go to the gym with me or not? As long as I'm getting to the gym, I'm serving what I'm looking for. Does that make sense? This is not a negotiation. It's non-negotiable. I am going to the gym today. But I now have something else that I know she wants to accomplish. And I'm able to add that and line that up into my goals. Who here can win all negotiations with this strategy? Speaking to a motivated seller, speaking to a passive investor, somebody who's like potentially looking to invest in your company, speaking to a person who is an investor that you could be putting your money into their deal. Wouldn't it be nice to understand what they do about their deal first before you say, hey, this is the return on investment I'm looking to get? If you just go in and say, hey, I want to get a 100% return on investment in the next year, well, are they even the right vehicle to do that? If they say yes and you haven't qualified, that's on you if you lost your money. Ask if you understand. It is your responsibility to understand before letting people know what your targets are, before letting people know where you're looking to go. So every book, every book, every week, every wealth principle comes with a book. Asking if you are committed to doing this principle this week, to go and taking this action step. And by the way, just because I gave you an exercise to do it with one person doesn't mean you can't do it with 10 people or 100 people, or from now on, every single person, every single conversation you have for the rest of your life. It could be the Uber driver. It could be the person who's waiting at you at the table. Practicing this one is a play for the future. It lasts. Do it with your nephews, your nieces, your kids. You can do it with, like I said, your spouse. My God, who'd like to win more often with their spouse? Am I the only one who thinks that's a really good goal? Shoot, right? You're the average of your 5 closest friends. Let's get your spouse on board with your business, right? Let's get your wife, your husband on board with your business. One of the things that I heard at the summit, not so much at the summit this year, but last year, the first year we did the 100 Millionaire Summit, was I can't get my wife to get on board with me buying a house. Now, I know we've got a lot of women in here who are in AlchemistNation who buy real estate, and they're the aggressive ones, and they're having a hard time with their husband getting involved. But just so we're clear, 72% of my followers are men. 72% of the people who follow what I'm doing are men, probably because I'm a bald white guy. So there's a good chance that I have got a lot of followers who are like, okay, like this bald guy has the same hair structure that I'm probably going to have when I'm in my 50s and 60s. I just got there sooner. Right? He's got some of that male pattern baldness. That's not female pattern baldness. Hence, if you understand, you will attract people who are like you, which is why we build communities, and we love it when a community is not me, right? When it's run by somebody else, there's a good chance we're going to attract a different group of people. So if you're thinking anything I'm saying is, oh, I can't copy that, you probably could copy it and they'd never have even known me, because they're going to know you. You're the one having the conversation. Most of the people you're interacting with will not have learned about Wealth Principle 49 from this format, but they could learn it from you. You could show them how Wealth Principle 49 works, how to understand before being understood. Now, because there's a book of the week every week, we read 52 books a year. Who here knows CEOs read 50 to 60 books a year? That's why they're CEOs. They're the highest paying people on the planet. Entrepreneurs read, well, successful entrepreneurs, because not all entrepreneurs are created equal. Many are broke. Many are struggling, and I don't really consider them an entrepreneur unless they own the business. But I digress. Most people do not read a book a year. Most people, the average person, will read a few chapters in one book per year. So if you're reading 52 books in a year, that gives you a 52-to-1 advantage over the average person. Who knows? You don't even have to be that much better to be great in this world. Just a little bit over average makes you wealthy, right? Just a little bit over what everybody else is doing makes you doing better than everybody else. Now, to be extremely successful, adding a few more books, adding some more knowledge, adding some people would be very helpful. Hence, if you agree, knowledge is power, but application equals results. So power without application is like having a big battery sitting on the side of a Tesla, and action is kind of like putting the battery in the Tesla and putting the pedal to the metal. Who understands that knowledge is power, but action creates results. So every page you read, be taking an action. When I'm at a seminar, I'm texting my team saying, hey guys, this is what I want done next. This is what I want done next. This is what I want done next. because I'm learning. I'm being informed, and then I'm informing others on the action steps. And if you understand, that's extreme leverage. Extreme leverage. So if it's just going into your notebook, if you're writing it in the notebook, I've got all this great knowledge, all you've done is store knowledge. It's like taking sunlight from the sun, putting it through a solar panel, and storing it in a battery. It's a good idea for later, but until that battery gets applied, it gets put into some sort of resource, nothing has happened. So you don't get points for books. You get points for actions. Well, you understand the difference between knowledge and application. Awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause. Very smart room. Appreciate it. All right. So the book of the week this week, we've got Michael Shine, who is our keeper of the books. He is the holistic attorney. He's the closer. We use him all of our real estate deals, and he runs Alchemist Title. So let's give Michael Shine, the keeper of the books, a big round of applause. Mike, what is this week's book of the week?
Oh my God, this is such a classic book. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I mean, I'd almost say, I don't want to criticize people, but if you haven't read it yet, you really are behind. This is an amazing book. I think I read this when I first joined a BNI group, because it's really helpful for networking. And since your network is your net worth, you should all be out networking. And this just makes it better. It's just an amazing book. It just gives basic tips. And it's funny when you read the tips, you're like, oh, wait a second. This is obvious. I've already heard it before. But the reason you've already heard it before is because How to Win Friends and Influence People has been out for so long that's where all these basic tenets come from. Like when you go up and talk to someone, you get interested in them. And we talk about like Teddy Roosevelt. He would study the other person the night before he would go and meet people. And it's got so many tips. It's just, if you're going to say something negative to someone, if you have to, start with like something positive, then say the criticism, and then go back to the something else positive. These are things you're like, oh, that's where that came from. It came from this book. So if you're out there doing any business or even in your home and personal life, this book it's the seminal book. It's like the #1 bestseller. It's what every networking group says to do. I think, Walter, it's also in your program. Is that correct? Is that one of the 3 books?
It is book #1 in the Recession Proof Challenge. So everybody who runs the Recession Proof Challenge is 3 books. You got How to Win Friends and Influence People, Endless Referrals by Bob Berg, and then Meet 100 People by Pat Headley. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah. So this is just the ultimate book. And if you haven't read it, read it. I do also, when Walter talks about reading a book a week, I'm generally reading a book like physically, but I'm also on Audible. There's nothing wrong with Audible. You can do that. And sometimes I even have like a 3rd book that I'm doing during the week that's just like a bigger, longer book. So you can pretty much be crushing like 3 books a week. And then you're way ahead of everybody. So that's what I got. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Let's give Michael Shine a big round of applause. He is the keeper of the books, the holistic attorney, the closer. And I appreciate you, Mike, for closing all of our deals. It means a lot to us to be able to close on things that make us money. I think our latest condo was an $87,000 back into the coffers, which was cool. And we bought it for $35,000, sold it for $180,000 3 years later. So just paid capital gains, no
totally
income tax.
Crushed that.
Perfect. And we got 19 more to go.
That'll motivate you when you're closing Walter's deals and he starts with a 40,000 condo and sells it for 180,000. Jeez Louise. Nice job.
Which reminds me, we got names on deeds today. So everybody who already knows about names on deeds knows that it's something they're interested in being at. That is today, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're thinking, oh, I'll catch it again later, no, you won't. I'm only doing it one time this year because I've got many other courses that I've got lined out. It is a session. It is what we do each year is sequential. You've got to catch on at the beginning of the year, run all the way through. It starts at the summit. My year doesn't start in January. That's how everybody else runs. My year starts in October. We finish the summit. We start the year from there. And we keep moving forward with what we're doing. We just finished the 8-week jump start with everybody in the mastery program. We're slamming right into the next section, which is mastery, event in a box, enterprise And all of that leads to more people building wealth for themselves by surrounding themselves with people who are building wealth. And thank you, Mike, for mentioning the recession-proof challenge, because that challenge is what led to us meeting so many of the people who are now in this community. So let's give everybody who's in our recession-proof challenge a big round of applause. The secret to being recession-proof, your network. We show you how to get the right network. We show you how to surround yourself with 100 millionaires. Not everybody takes the action steps on challenge number 1. So some people come through the challenge twice, 3 times, 4 times. The idea is we're just gonna do it until we get it, until it makes sense. So today we do have Names on Deeds, which was backed by popular demand. I've been asked, well, you don't really talk about evaluating deals too much, Walter. You don't talk about evaluating deals too much, Walter, because I taught you how to evaluate deals already. So if I'm not talking about evaluating deals, it's because most of the work is on finding the deal. It's on funding the deal, right? So if you don't know how to evaluate the deal, I will teach you today how to evaluate the deal. If you don't have a calculator to evaluate the deal, I will give you today a calculator that evaluates multifamily deals. I'm not giving you a calculator to do flips. This is not for small-minded people. This is not for, evaluating condos. This is for evaluating multifamily deals. Now you can do small multifamily all the way up to infinite amount of units on multifamily. Hands care, if you understand, Names on Deeds is for small multifamily investors and large multifamily investors. My niche is in between that 3 to 40 units, that kind of 3 to 40 unit acquisition that the hedge funds don't do. So we built a strategy around something that the big competitors will never get into your space. Hence, can't feel like being protected from the big guys because they got infinite money and they can overpay for everything. So it makes sense to be in this kind of 3 to 40 unit space. Names on Deeds is backed by popular demand. Who knows they're going? Who already knows they're going? Yep. If you want to go and you don't have the link, go to namesondeeds.com. Ron made it simple, made it very easy for you to find out how to get to the event. If you're afraid of paying the $97, then I don't give a fuck about your problems, right? If you can't pay $97 to figure out how to evaluate $1 million deals, you've got bigger problems. It's not my issue. Hand scan, if you understand, we're here to serve people who are taking action. That's all it is. We're going to do a Q&A. At the end of Names on Deeds, I was asked earlier in the session for all of our members, will Vinny Chopra be there? The answer is yes. Vinny Chopra will be there teaching how to do multifamily syndications. He'll be giving you some tips and strategies that are working right now. We'll be evaluating today's market. This training is fresh. It is new because the last time we did Names on Deeds was last year, and we had to adjust. Hands can't, the market's changed. Things have changed. This is not the same market of 2022. This is not the same market of 2021. Going forward into this year, we have had to adjust our underwriting. How we evaluate deals, how we write up an offer is different because the market is different. What we're looking for is always the same. Cash flow, right? We're invest for cash flow. That's why we invest in small multifamilies, right? We want to have money in our sleep. We want to build an empire that we can hold for the long term. The only way you lose money in real estate, who knows the rules? The only way to lose money in real estate is to be forced to sell in a down market. The absolute only way that you could ever lose money in real estate is to be forced to sell in a down market. Every other way, real estate wins. We understand we buy low, we sell high, right? That's the principle, the philosophy. How do you make sure you can hold it forever? Cash flow. Cash flow is the secret to making sure that you can get that appreciation on an asset. I never talk about appreciation in this community because cash appreciation without cash flow is failure. With cash flow, you can hold it long enough for appreciation to exist. Does that make sense? You hold it long enough, look, inflation will get it up there. Just inflation alone. The city doesn't even have to improve. You can just hold it long enough and the inflation will get you there. That's why real estate investors right now are doing so well. That's why real estate investors are absolutely crushing it right now. We haven't had to do anything to our properties, and they've gone up 17% each year for 2 years. Even right now, we haven't had to do anything to our properties, and our properties are staying right there at that value. No adjustment, no shifts, no changes. Everybody's saying the market's going to shift, the market's going to shift. Who would like to know my prediction? Who would like to know what I foresee in the future for the real estate? So I'm going to do that in Names on Deeds. It'll probably be my second set of PowerPoints that I run through. PowerPoint number 1 is explaining what Names on Deeds is, how to put your names on deeds. I think maybe PowerPoint number 2 will be an explanation of where the market is, my prediction of where we're going, how to evaluate it yourself. And then I'll slide into evaluating deals. I'll talk a lot about creative financing. I got my accountant coming in who'd like to know some of the new rules for taxes on real estate investors. Donald Trump's rules got kicked out the window. this new administration just switched things around. So for real estate investors, it's very important for us to understand the new laws, because we always have a hidden partner on every single transaction. Who knows who our hidden partner is? Likes to take their chunk from every single deal. Uncle Sam, got to pay the piper, right? But we've got ways to deal with our partner where they don't take all of our money or any of our money in many transactions, because we follow the rules. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of those rules today on Names on Deeds. So if you don't know about Alchemist Nation and all the free courses that we have, go to AlchemistNation.com. And if you're wondering why they're free, it's because millionaires have donated the courses because they believe that being broke sucks. And they don't want to have you broke, but they also don't have the time to sit down and talk to you. So what they did is they recorded great trainings. They put them out on Alchemist Nation, and then we have our mentors. Hence, if you're one of the mentors, somebody who would donate time to have a conversation with a person about how to build wealth, if you're a millionaire already, or high figure six figure earner who wouldn't mind teaching some stuff. So we got our mentors out on Alchemist Nation who don't mind making those messages, answering questions, answering challenges. We've got our millionaire coaches who've put their content out there. Those people have put courses for free in hopes that it helps you on some level. If you don't take a course on Alchemist Nation and you're broke this time next year, that is on you. It is 100% your fault if you don't watch the courses that can help you build wealth. Hence, if you understand how that works, right? And obviously, the courses are just knowledge, and we know knowledge doesn't build millionaires. What builds millionaires is accountability. It is action, is doing things. So do something with it. That's can't understand. It's your responsibility to do something with the knowledge that's out there. Awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. We're going to open it up to questions for everybody who is online. Cheers to your success. We have a choice. Always work with the best. Share, like, subscribe. See you in the next one.
So, Walter, I have to correct you.
Of course, Stephen. It
Okay.
wouldn't be a 52 weeks if I didn't stand corrected.
Because you said there were going to be millionaires and six-digit figure people there, but you didn't talk about the billionaire. Okay, there's going to be a billionaire there. Okay, then, and by the way, he's probably going to be giving some tax advantages and advice to do, and he's sort of a pretty smart guy, I think, right? So I'm just saying, let's not forget the little guy. Okay.
You made a good point. Vinny Chopra will be at Names on Deeds. He donated a course on Alchemist Nation. So we got a billionaire who's donated a course on Alchemist Nation. And he will be there today. He might even be giving something away. He spent a lot of time building his goal spreadsheet, and he and I have been texting back and forth. And he's very nerdy level excited around this goal sheet. So he will probably be giving that away to everybody who shows up to Names on Deeds today, because he's just really, really proud of the goal sheet. And he probably will go over a little session on goals. Then if he forgets, I will ask him to. Hands the camera if that's okay. If he gets a little sidetracked. Awesome. So let's open up to questions. I see Chong, your hand is up, brother. Go ahead.
Hey, I just want to comment on this week's 52 principle here. I've been winning since I joined this community, and during the holiday, I won 300 pounds of dog food, right? Because I got a puppy and everything, and it just kept paying forward. So recently I had a friend from high school reach out, and he says, hey, I need your help. I need to sell my property because it's going to go sheriff sale in like 2 weeks. And using these principles, I thought, you open it up to some close investors and let them kind of show you what they're all about. You give them a little bit more information about the situation than you typically would, and you treat them like people you want to continue to do business with, and you set out the expectations about what the situation is, what your outcome is, and it was incredible. They weren't the people that I thought they were. You're the wholesaler, now they want you to JV, and all of a sudden they're trying to sell your deal. Well, anyway, long story short, I used this in every day, and my friend that I just helped wholesale his deal, he just kept thanking me because I'm mentoring him, coaching him, because he's in a tough situation. He's already been kicked down, right? So you don't want to keep kicking him when he's already down. That's just not who we are, not what we do. And so I'm super transparent with him, coaching him. And I could have came out with 100 grand. Like, no, this is your 100 grand. This is, and the 30 is mine. Like, that's perfect and not a big deal. The people that I thought were friends wanted to split it 3 ways in one team, 4 ways in another. Like, that's not how this works. This was my deal. I did all the work. You're not gonna just come and take advantage of me, and you forget that the end goal is to serve my friend. And here you're trying to capitalize on that. So this is a very important principle. It's fundamental. So thank you.
Awesome. Let's give Chong a round of applause. It is something that gets cleaned up over time too, by the way. Like what you're talking about is people who are takers, right? Takers or maybe even matchers. There's a book called Give and Take. It's a long book, really hard read, but if you are willing to tackle it, it's not part of the 52 weeks because of the nature of the book. It's really difficult book to read and get through, but it has a lot of really good information in it. And the premise of the book is that there are 3 types of people in the world. There are givers, there are takers, and there are matchers. Hence, Cam, if you've met every kind of one of them, you kind of get the idea. You know what I'm talking about, but you don't have to read a book to understand the concept here. The weird and fundamental part that I thought was the most interesting information in the book was the research they did around the success levels of givers, takers, and matchers. You see, matchers seem to be somewhere in the middle, and then takers seem to be in the mid highs, but then givers were the poorest people and the richest people. You see, the givers split into 2 demographics: super poor givers and super ultra rich givers. And then you had the takers were high net worth but not rich, and then you had the matchers who were the average human being across the planet. They were average in every level, like everything across was average. And so when we started looking at why that was the case, it's because of a fundamental rule that rich givers have and a fundamental flaw that poor givers have. So if you're the kind of person who says, I give to everybody and people take advantage of me, then you may want to pay attention to this section. The poor givers give to anyone unscrupulously. If you're poor and you're also a giver, it's because you give unscrupulously. And if you're rich and you're a giver, it's because you give to other givers. Now, at first, that seems obvious, but also seems wrong, doesn't it? It's like, oh my God, why would givers not give to everybody? It's because of the same principle we talked about earlier in this conversation, this principle. You got to put the mask on yourself first before you can put the mask on others, right? You've got to give to the givers for a long enough period of time to be able to then contribute to the takers and the matchers. And if you're smart, you don't give to the takers ever. You just give to the matchers. If you're ever going to shift out of giving to givers, you shift to matchers. But here's the thing, my givers, my people. The givers who are the ultra rich give to the poor who are also givers. Right? That's a fundamental challenge, right? We're like, okay, like these people are the ones we must serve. But the problem is, and you've seen this in the economy, the moment you give to the poor givers, they give it away to the matchers and the takers. Who's catching this? Who understands? That's why Alchemist Nation exists. Alchemist Nation's job is to train givers to give conditionally, to give based on the morals, ethics, and mindset of the people they're serving, to only give to people who they know will appreciate the giving and will pay it forward. Now, the giving doesn't have to come back to you. We all understand this. Sans Camp, you understand, like you pay it forward, it doesn't have to come back. You just want to know it's going to go somewhere else. That's what the wealthiest people on the planet will tell you. Is it like I never expect it to come back to me, but I always give it to people who I know it's going to keep moving. It's going to keep going, right? I give it to people who are going to pay it forward, who are going to keep moving it forward. So a really, really, really good share, Chom. That is fantastic. So if you're not satisfied with the amount of wealth you have right now, change the people you're hanging around with to people who also agree in giving. Speaking of givers, I see Doug McGurk just jumped on the call, brother.
Hey, brother. No, I've been on the whole time. Sorry, I just been multitasking and I got Ellie and the kids over. Great job. I just wanted to dovetail a little bit. As you know, my passion and focus is on communication, and I'll just drop in an NLP presupposition that may be of value, because everything you shared was brilliant, and I hope that everyone took notes, because you were giving away the farm in many respects. When you could read through what you were sharing, it's a game changer. But one of the things, and it's tapping into what you just shared as well, with the mindset behind giving and the energies and the flow. Communication is how it's received, not its intent. So if everyone can chew on that for a moment, communication is how it is received, not its intent. And this is a vital mindset shift, because that helps you listen to the listening. So now you're actually calibrating what is their receiving of what you're sharing, because no one wants to hear this. You heard me wrong. Right? It's not. No. We take personal responsibility for our communication, and we want to be listening to the listening and calibrating. Are they receiving how it is my intent? Is it aligned? Because we could be making an offer and we could think it's the best thing since sliced bread. But if we don't understand how they're receiving it, we could get frustrated and find ourselves in a lock and go, oh no, right? And then we could blame the other person and think that there's something wrong with them and all that, instead of taking personal responsibility and looking at, well, wait a minute. I was not articulating my position in a way that they are understanding it, which will go back to some of the strategies of matching and mirroring and pacing and leading and all of the cool strategies in NLP. I just wanted to throw in another nugget in there to help kind of add some baking soda to the cake you just threw out there.
Let's give Doug McGurk a big round of applause. If you haven't met Doug before, he spent 3 years coaching with Tony Robbins. And I don't mean he was coaching under Tony. I mean, he was coaching side by side all of Tony's students. He was coaching, he was teaching, he was training. He would go out into events and speak before Tony would show up to events. And it was a very, very powerful form of education for Doug. He wasn't just learned and taught. He then experienced and got to see people's results. And he studied NLP. He studied hypnosis. He is a master NLP practitioner, a certified hypnotist, among many other things. He's helped build millions of millionaires across the country with Tony, and now he's helping us in Alchemist Nation. He wrote, in fact, our Alchemist Manifesto. If you haven't checked this out on the website, these affirmations are the secret to our success. These are the belief systems that we incorporate into everything that we do. So let's give Doug McGurk a big round of applause. He's also a killer speaker. You should see him at the summit. In fact, his video, I think, just released this week. So if you go to YouTube, I think it's already there. And then we're going to be putting on Alchemist Nation very shortly. So let's take a few more questions. What other comments, shares, or questions around understanding? Go ahead, Christina. I see your hand. And Christina's another multifamily investor. She's diving in. She works for a law office. I remember. Go ahead, Christina. It's the unmute button. It's the other one.
I couldn't find it. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. My question is, I thought I was antisocial.
I thought so too. I thought I was antisocial, Christina. Turns out I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm just efficient.
I did an assessment and supposedly I'm very social. But what I noticed is I do love networking, and I do love expressing myself and, listening to others and everything. And I try to help people, when they ask for my help. But I noticed that sometimes their energy, I get their energy. Like I personally and sometimes it affects me a little bit, like a lot.
Kind of
sometimes,
sucks,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you avoid that? I mean, if and that's something that I know that will happen, and I try not to get too in deep with people. because of that. But how now that I'm on the real estate and now I'm like interacting with a lot of people and networking, how you avoid getting your energy sucked by other people sometimes.
I'm going to answer that really quick. And I know Mike's got an even better answer than me. And my business partner just texted me and said, hey, can you make sure you differentiate between poor and poor mindset, not just currently broke? So let me restate that if you are currently broke is temporary. If you know you're coming into money, if you know you're busting your butt and you're making connections and you're putting deals out and committing to people and you're serving others, then you are temporarily broke, which is what I wrote the book Broke to a Quarter Million about. It was broke, and then I had a $250,000, and then I had $1 million, then I had double 2 million, multi-million. Now we're at pentamillion. Ron and I are going hard after the decamillion, the 10 millions. I know Mike's going after the 10 millions. So that brokenness was a temporary state. Poor, on the other hand, is a mindset. I can't help poor. I can't help people who believe everything is against them, that the world is against them, and that everybody is out there to take advantage of them. There's no helping poor. That is impossible for me to serve on the poor level. So Christina, that states right into what we're going here. There is no helping somebody who doesn't want help. And if somebody is shoveling shitty emotions at you, unless you're a therapist and that's what you get paid for, stop it. Stop hanging around. You cannot help those people yet. You're not equipped for it. You are not currently at the level of equipment where it isn't affecting you. Do you understand? When I can serve the poor, I can serve the people who are becoming rich, I can serve the broke, because their shit doesn't mean anything to me, because I know it's a lie. I know it's a false belief, and I'm willing to look past it. When you're listening to them, you're empathizing and hearing and feeling it internally because it relates to you. You still might be kind of in the shit a little bit, right? So until you've developed that skill set and spent enough time around that mindset of wealth, you might want to avoid spending time with people who are just going to put their negative energy on you. You might want to, for a time, avoid people. Like if you were looking to lose weight, right? Like say you want to get on a diet and you want to lose weight, you might want to avoid the places where drinking alcohol and eating chips and eating carbs are going to be done. You might want to shift where you spend your time. You might want to spend more time in the gym where everybody's eating healthy versus spending time in the living room where, Netflix is and the potato chips are at. So you shift who you're spending your time with. If you notice at this point, you haven't built that strength. I don't believe in working on your weaknesses. I believe in powering so hard on your strengths and surrounding yourself with successful people so that one day you become a successful person. You don't remember what it's like to be broke, and then you can go and serve. When they couldn't take from you, when they couldn't instill their emotions into you, when you've built that defense up. So go and serve and hang with people who are already strong so you can become stronger. And then once you've reached a certain level of strength, then it's okay to serve back. But even me, like I don't one-on-one with the broke. I don't. I do group calls and I record things. I write books. I serve them from a distance. They don't text me. They don't email me. They don't have access to me. So even with me at the level that I'm at, I believe I'm perfectly capable of handling their mindsets. It doesn't help. Does that make sense? Mike, outdo me, brother.
Well, there's no way. You're the master of this one. And I was thinking when I raised my hand that I know Walter's got a better answer, but I'll put in my 2 cents because I always like to add a book. First of all, T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Like at the very beginning, he says something like, get your crap away from me. So if there's someone that has crap or that sort of negative feeling around you, like Walter said, run away. You don't need to spend time with that. But my other thought is that if you're in like a networking event or something like that, and someone has that negative energy, life is supposed to be fun. Okay. And one of the things I've noticed that Walter does that I've learned from hanging out with him is he can take a negative or a negative person and turn them positive. And it's so if you can just say, okay, here's a challenge. Here's grumpy old man, and by the end of your conversation, you've turned the grumpy old man into someone that connects with you, that likes you, then I don't know, my inner being just gets this really warm feeling. It's just fun. And that's what I would look at that. It says, oh, wow, God put this person in front of me so I can raise them up and make them make them see where I am. And like I said, Walter is a master of this. It's one of the reasons I love him as a friend. Yeah, I'm out.
Give Mike Shine a round of applause. Give Christina a round of applause. Great question. Great question. What do you do with those energy vampires? Either you turn them around, right? But that takes a skill. It does take a skill, and does take a belief that you can turn them around, because anything you're going to do, you have to believe you're going to do it. You have to believe that it's possible. You have to be willing to dig your heels in and stay in it long enough to make sure it works. But if that's the path you believe is possible, then do it. Take that action. It certainly helps. I saw, and Andre, your hand was up, and then Chong, I saw your hand go up, brother.
I believe you answered my question, but I'm going to ask it just so that you know that it was answered. I was going to ask, how do you tell the difference between a giver who gives back and a giver who just gives indiscriminately? Because I was a giver who gave indiscriminately, and I'm trying to learn how not to be that.
I was so close to complimenting you on your language. The first part you got right. I was a giver who gave to everybody indiscriminately. That's good, right? You put it in the past. That's excellent. Instead of trying to become a giver who qualifies the giving, just only give to good people. Only give to givers, right? Just give to people who are obviously giving. Look for people who you could gain from. That's an obvious sign of a giver. Who here knows, like, givers are pretty obvious. They're always giving shit. It's always like, you look around, there's always stuff handed out. They're giving, right? So that is a sign of a giver, right? When they're just giving things out, information, situations, networking, opportunities, resources, they're just giving. Then there's a good chance that they're a giver. And then you ask them what they want. Like, this is kind of, successful people got successful by giving, right? The only way they ever got money or fame or resources was because they gave something in exchange. That was how they got to a level of success. There are rich people, or people who have many assets, who I wouldn't call wealthy, because they don't have a lot of great relationships around them. Those people may have given and then shut themselves off at some point. So if you have met a rich person who is not being a philanthropist, or not paying it forward, or not very good, not giving still, it's possible they just turned off the faucet. I just want to qualify that, yes, there are people out there who are not still giving, but gave at some point. Those are probably matchers. Right? Matchers will match, but they can't sustain until they come to the conclusion that giving is actually more fun. Remember, you can't give if somebody doesn't receive. So being a great giver means also being open to receiving. One of the flaws that I've seen with broke givers is that they have the shield up on receiving, because they've been burned so many times by takers that they're like, oh no, don't give me anything. You can't give if somebody doesn't receive. Be willing to receive as well. And that imposter syndrome, that, oh, I don't feel like I gave enough. Like, why were they giving this to me? If you didn't ask for it and somebody's willing to give, you should probably say yes.
Yes, I had to learn how to receive.
Just don't say one thing I will say. I learned this from my dad a
learn.
long time ago. My dad said, there are certain people you don't take from. There are certain people that you do not take from, because you'll have to owe them something, and you just got to be able to qualify who those people might be. And by the way, if you feel like you owe somebody something, but you don't, it's okay to not owe them something. You can rewrite the contract at any point. Is it making sense? It's called a renege. You just renegotiate. Go ahead, Stephen, and Carlos. We're going to jump off. Everybody get some lunch, by the way. We're going to jump off really quick, because Names on Deeds at 12 o'clock. And I do want to say, because Dorina told me, invite everybody to Names on Deeds. Because of this, I don't want people not knowing how to evaluate properties and find off-market deals in this market. If you have a friend or a family member who you'd like to understand this real estate game, but you don't have the bandwidth or time or patience to teach them, this is the easiest way for them to learn in a way that isn't you telling them what to do, because we know how this works. If your spouse tells you how to do something, your friend tells you how to do something, there's a good chance they're ignoring it because you already know it. But if you invite them and you're coming in together to learn something, there's a much better chance they will receive it for themselves and become an asset to your cause, to your investment strategy, to your partnership. Hence, if that makes sense, You ever tried teaching your spouse something and they're just like, I don't even know this because you already know it. You ever tried teaching a friend something? Like they're like, oh, this is too confusing for me. They didn't want it. But if you say, hey, I'm in this thing to learn how to buy real estate, are you interested? And they say yes, then it'd be unethical not to invite them. Hence, if we understand, it's all about your network. Awesome. Go ahead, Stephen. Sorry, brother. I had to say it.
Let Chong go first. He had his hand up and I think he was being polite. Chong, yeah.
I'll make it quick. Oftentimes
Stephen.
we feel guilty because we're not coming from the right space. And I try to teach my kids this: come from a place of abundance, not from a place to qualify your worth. You know, when you come from a place where you have very humble beginnings, you feel like, man, you got to give because you got to show what you're worth. You don't feel like you're not worth anything, so you constantly give. But then at the end of the day, you gave something you don't have, or you've given everything, and then you have the empty cup again, right? And then another thing is, I try to be so positive that it scares away the Debbie Downers, and it's crazy how that works. They just like, I don't want anything to do with you, and it's like it worked. I was able to avoid them. And
I can't stand that guy and his fake positivity. Yeah. Whatever.
Jedi mind trick, right? If you're the Force. And then I learned this the hard way. Don't allow negative people to rent space in your head for free. That's something where, like, man, you can't, this stupid bag of rocks that don't do shit. Go find the deepest ditch and just like.
John, my dad used to tell me, and here's the funny thing about my dad, all of his metaphors are like real estate related because he was obsessed with real estate. My dad was an analysis paralysis guy, obsessed with real estate, never got into real estate while I was a kid. But fortunately, the stories stick with me. My dad always said about negative thoughts. He'd say, look, negative people and negative thoughts are like tenants. If they don't pay rent, get them out, right? If they don't pay rent, evict them, right? You don't let those negative thoughts, those negative people in your life, you evict that negativity immediately. You control your space. This is your temple. Temple's a piece of real estate, isn't it? It's your building, right? If something doesn't belong in there, evict it, right? You'll find something better to put in there, and you can do some renovations and raise rent. Do some personal development and get a better return on investment. Go ahead, Stephen. I love that song.
It's going down. So here's the thing: we don't have a system, and I love creating systems to figure out which people we need to keep, which people we don't. So I came up a long time ago with what I call the 5 3s. So here it is. There are 5 types of people. The first type you can spend 3 days with, and it's not enough. Walter, we could go hang out for 3 days. It would be the bomb, right? It's like, but damn it, we even though we've built all this, we've wasted time. We've got to get back. We got to go do things. So got to go. Sorry, Walter, we spend more time, but got to go. Then you have the 3-hour person. You spend 3 hours with him. You're like, this was just crazy great. I love you. Let's do it again. Then you have the 30-minute person. This may be a friend that you see every once in a while. Spend lunch with them, right? And it's okay. They're not where you really want to be, but they're friends, and you do that. Then you have the 3-minute person. That's the water cooler person. That's like, oh my gosh, did you see what happened yesterday? And this person cut me off, and all. So you got 3 minutes, and then you have the 3-second person, and the 3-second person is the person that you said you don't even say hi to. They're like, hey, I just want to. Sorry. Go. It's like you never have time to even say hi. Now, the people that you need to cut are obviously the 3-second and the 3-minute person, right? If they're, and this is personally, I'll just tell you guys this, it's been one of my parents and one of my kids. And it was 4 months before they came around and realized they can't talk that way around me. I'm not going to put up with it, right? You get what you tolerate, okay? And I don't tolerate those people, right? So but you set your boundaries. So you get those 5 3s. It's a real easy equation for you to go, oh shit, he's right. You're a 3-second person. Sorry. So anyway.
Hands in the camera if you can relate to this. Like, you just found a system that you can implement into your life. Give Stephen Beaver a round of applause. If you're looking to build wealth, right? Salespeople, I have a 30-minute rule. I do not spend one-on-one time with anybody for more than 30 minutes. It doesn't make sense. The ROI is immediately dropping. And most of my meetings are 15-minute long. Like, that is my goal for every meeting, is we want to be in and out in under 15 minutes. Go ahead, Mike.
It's just funny story. I remember I was when I was sort of learning with Walter, just wholesaling, and I said, yeah, I made a call and I talked to someone. He's like, how long did you talk to him? I'm like, oh, an hour and 50. And he's like, oh no, what are you doing?
My heart sank a bit. I was like, oh no, God, no. It is a philosophy that has worked for me. And the more you value your time, the more you're going to recognize it's true. Every single person who was the 100 Millionaire Summit, right? I spent 3 days with you. I could have done that all day, right? All weekend. Some of you were in our VIPs. I spent 4 days with you. Some of you came out and partied with me on Sunday night. I spent the whole extra night with you. And by like Summit was not like just, 8-hour days. We're talking 12, 14-hour days. We were there together 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight. And then when we went out on Sunday night, we were there from 8 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning. There's like 4 people, the 4 stragglers who Lois Petman was one of them. 4 stragglers who hung with me right till 2:30. Like we're finding hot dogs on the street. Like we had a blast, right? In this community, like I've made a commitment to only hang with those 3-day people, the people who I could spend 3 days with, and it'd still be good, right? So if you're going to change your life and qualify, why not just choose people who you love being around, who like you could spend all your time with, and then choose to build with those people. If you want to be successful, spend time with people who you love that also want to be successful, not just want, like do it. Go ahead, Carlos. I just care if we're getting something out of this. This is fun. We're getting some good feedback. We're getting some good questions. Man, I love these questions.
No, I'm gonna make it real quick, man. I know we got to get to that names on deeds. I encourage everybody to go and check that out. Absolutely. I just want to say everything you're speaking on is resonating with me, man. I relate I used to be a poor giver, I guess you could say. I used to give with no expectations, but now when I give, I sort of have an expectation for people to at least, show a little effort and help me feel like the nuggets that I'm giving you is worth something. You know what I mean? Again, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, brother. Don't let these people drain your energy. Don't waste your time, your efforts, and your resources on places and people that's going to take you nowhere. That's one thing I'm learning, man. That's why I keep coming to these groups, Paul. Thank you, sir.
Let's give Carlos a big round of applause. It's true. It's true. Givers give, takers take, matchers match. They're easier to spot. I'm telling you. And if you feel at any point in this conversation, you're like, oh man, like maybe I've been a little bit of a matcher. Maybe I've been a little bit of a taker. Forgive yourself. It's okay. That was yesterday, right? Like, that person's dead. This person's alive. Like this person's here changing and adjusting. I remember feeling super guilty about being a taker. Like I was like, oh my God, like I think in my early relationships, I was totally a taker. And that guilted me so deep that I went all the way to the other side and became a giver, like all the way to the other side. Right. And then I got burned, like hella burned. And then I was like, maybe I'm maybe I just need to, if somebody's good, I'm good. If they're bad, like I separate from them. I went through all this. Go ahead, Mike. I wasn't born a giver, which is why I was born broke. Does that make sense?
I just want to talk to you about what you're saying, because I just give freely all the time. And I don't really worry about the other person. Like, some people are like, oh, this person's going to go buy drugs with the money or whatever it is. They always say that. I never think that way. I'm thinking of like abundance of the universe and just giving it. That's okay, right? I mean,
we're going to qualify Michael Shine's giving right here. Mike will give small amounts regardless of who he's around, regardless. But when Mike invests millions of dollars in a partnership, he qualifies very, very intently the intentions of that human being. Are they there to serve the project? Are they a long-term committed person? Are they married? Like, do they cheat on their spouse? If they do, then there's no fucking way this deal's ever going to go through. Like, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So, Mike, I will say yes. As the wealthier you become, the more you give, and the more indiscriminately you give in small amounts, because you're able to give to more people in small amounts. But when it comes to major decisions, big plays that are going to change your life, I know you qualify your partners so well.
cool. Thank you. Yes, I do. I qualify them, and they're all awesome.
They are.
I'm just lucky.
Are you just lucky, or you just? I mean, most of your partners, 50% of your partners, come from this community.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Are you
He's
lucky,
lucky.
or did you put yourself in the right
No,
place?
he is lucky. He's laboring under correct knowledge.
You are correct. I stand corrected. He's laboring under correct knowledge. Hence, if you commit to labor under correct knowledge. Now, I want to take the word labor away because I know Mike doesn't like the concept or idea of laboring. Living under correct knowledge.
I love that you always say that. Passive income. Don't give me that work shit.
Mike's like, it's got to be passive. If the income's not passive, then we haven't done it right. Look, where we're at and where Mike's at and where many of the millionaires are at, we have the ability to passively invest in people's businesses, people's ideas, people's investment strategies. In the beginning, you may have to be the person who either invests in relationships and can bring other people's capital to deals, or you must have the skill set to find the deals, or you must have the ability to manage the projects. As Cam, if you understand, that's how it works. Managing the projects is super high intensity, very high labor. Finding deals is also super high intensity, very laborsome. Raising capital, although involves time, feels like a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun because I get to hang with successful people, find out how they became successful. Remember, I get to understand before being understood. And then after listening to all of their success, I learn a lot about what they did to get there. Then I'm able to offer a strategy that I'm capable of delivering because of my other relationships who love to work hard, who have built skills and have built systems and have built businesses that we can invest our capital into. So pick your poison, right? Well, how do you want to live? I like the idea of a life, under correct knowledge. I saw one more hand, then we got to jump because I know everybody's got to get some lunch, and I'm gonna make myself a special little trip down to Taco Bell so that I can be powered up. But thinking outside the bun. Any other questions before we jump? Look at Miguel. Miguel's always got a question. Go ahead, brother.
I don't have a question. I would say you're going to be constipated with that Taco Bell.
That's right, brother. So that Taco Bell, my body purifies it. It handles it really well, allows me to concentrate and stay focused. Go ahead, Josh.
So I was just going to share because somebody in the group, I'm not going to put her on the spot, but she had a little bit of doesn't know what to do. So I had explained it's about going back to that time in life when you're a kid, right? And everything excited you. You got to get that inner kid out of you again.
Yeah. Bring the kid out. Play the game. Find good people to play with. Remember the kid who smashed your castle? Fuck that kid. Do not spend any more time with that kid anymore, right? But the person who like Dorina has this story about this kid she was playing cars with, and the kids would always jam the car into her car. She's like, why can't we just follow the roads? Why can't we just play nice and go fast and follow the roads? We gotta the kids always gotta smash into my car. So I hated playing with those kids. So stop.
Yep.
Right. If you got to play by yourself for a little while, go and build what you want and then find other people who want to play the game that you're playing. Nothing wrong with it.
That's it, man. Yep.
Awesome. Let's give Josh a big round of applause. It's true. You got to be a child, right? Look at Vinny, right? Vinny is a billionaire. Rich is an extremely successful person, right? For me, people you're so overly optimistic, so positive. Yeah, I'm like a kid. I'm having fun everywhere. I'm 30. I'll be 37 soon. I'm 36 years old. Dorina, I was dancing in the house the other day, and Dorina's like, "My God, you don't dance like a 36-year-old man. You don't have any. You move perfectly fine. There's no joint issues." Because I'm a kid, man. I'm just a kid playing a game, playing an adult level game, right? And the game's not that hard. It's math, right? Basic level math. And I built a spreadsheet for the complicated stuff. So let's give Josh a round of applause. For everybody who's on the call and hung out and asked questions, give them a big round of applause. For everybody who is here, ready to build their empire. Thank you for your commitment to yourself, to your commitment to this mission. 100 millionaires inspired to build 100 millionaires. Cheers to your success. We have a choice. Always work with the best. We'll see you next
week. Before you leave, I got a question.
Yeah. Put it in Alchemist Nation, Miguel. I already said the thing. To sign off. So go to Alchemist Nation, drop your question, and one of us will respond, brother. Thank you.